Mr. Stone, a very good morning to you.
Good morning, Vijay. Sat Sri Akal.
Sat Sri Akal. I'm checking on the provincial BC Wildfire dashboard, and it says that of the 253 active fires in the province, 90 of them, about 36% of them, are in the Kamloops area, Kamloops region. Can you give us a sense of what the situation is like on the ground there right now?
Sure. Well, thank you very much for having me on. I sure appreciate it. And yes, it continues to be a dire situation up here in Kamloops. The Kamloops Fire Center, which, as you said, has about 90 active fires. That means we've got fires all around us within a couple hours' drive of the city of Kamloops. So what that means at the end of the day is thousands of people, particularly those in rural parts of the province, thousands of people have been evacuated from their homes, or they're on evacuation alert, which means they could be evacuated at any time. We are experiencing some of the worst smoke that I can recall ever in my life up here. I was raised in Kamloops. I've lived here most of my life, and I've never experienced a fire season quite like this one, with this many fires this early and with this bad of smoke. We're also experiencing significant challenges in finding rooms for evacuees.
Right.
There's a chronic shortage of space. And so we're all pulling together and doing the best we can to try and make the most of a bad situation and ensure that everybody who is in need is receiving the help that they desperately need.
Now, Mr. Stone, the provincial government, after resisting the call for declaring emergency for many days, declared a provincial state of emergency because of the wildfires a few days ago. How has the response changed since then, or has there been has that made any difference?
Oh, it has made a difference. It has made exactly the difference that we said it would. And regrettably, the government, they should have called it 3 weeks earlier than they did. But, at the end of the day, we were grateful that it was called when it was. Look, there's a whole bunch of things that have happened much more quickly since the state of emergency call. First off, finally, we are seeing significant reinforcements coming, firefighting reinforcements from around North America and the world.
Right.
There's about 100 Mexican firefighters that just arrived. They're going to be fighting the huge fire in the Oliver area. There's about 100 firefighters that have just arrived from Quebec. Thankfully, they are stationed now at the Salmon Lake Resort, which is not that far from Kamloops. They'll be battling the huge White Rock Lake fire that's pretty close to the village of Westfold and Monty Lake. We understand that there are the first 2 or 3 dozen firefighters on their way from Australia and elsewhere in the world. So that's made a big difference. Secondly, the Ministry of Transportation has issued some orders that they can only do in a state of emergency. But one of the orders was to the Trans Mountain Pipeline that they had to clear their construction equipment out of the way along the highways from the Alberta border down to the Oliver Azuis area. And they had to do it immediately without any discussion whatsoever, so that a convoy of military personnel, Canadian Armed Forces personnel, could make their way down south, and even from an evacuee perspective and securing a shelter for people. All of this has been made easier, and it's been able to happen quicker because the state of emergency has been in place.
Is there something still lacking from the government side of the response, do you think? Because you're there, present in that situation, and you're seeing all this fire activity around you, is there something that is still lacking which could be done in a better way to assist the people and to fight the fires?
Well, the one main piece that I would mention at this point is that there continue to be a lot of private contractors and private companies that have firefighting expertise. Either they have a bunch of private firefighters on their team all trained up, or they have equipment, fire suppression systems, fire trucks, those kinds of things. There are still far too many of those kinds of contractors and those kinds of companies that have not yet been engaged by the BC government, and it begs the question why. To give you a quick snapshot, The Sparks Lake Fire, which is now the largest in the province, that's only about an hour away from Kamloops. That fire is now just under 60,000 hectares in size. You could lay that entire fire over most of Metro Vancouver. The White Rock Lake Fire, again, that's only about an hour from Kamloops. That fire has grown now to 12,500 hectares, and that was the last update last evening. I suspect that fire is probably much larger now.
Right.
There's a lot of structures at risk. There's a lot of people that are going to continue to lose their grasslands for their cattle and potentially their homes in a lot of these rural areas, and they need more help, and they need it now. So I would urge the government to expedite whatever approvals are required to get every single hand on deck, every contractor out there that's offering to help. Let's get them engaged so that they can begin to fight these fires and add those additional resources that we so desperately need.
Mr. Stone, the weather forecast for the coming days shows that the heat's only going to go up in the Kamloops region. I'm looking at the weather forecast, and it says that the temperatures are going to go as high as into the high 30s, almost close to 40 degrees by Friday, Saturday. So that could also pose some new challenges.
It certainly will. We expect that heat warnings or heat advisories are going to be put in place pretty soon, as you mentioned. It likely won't be as bad as it was a few weeks ago when we had that heat dome. But look, anything north of 30 degrees is hot. And the point is, we've been in a drought for about 4 months now with very minimal precipitation.
Right.
So the grasslands, the forests up here, everything is tinder dry. It couldn't be any more dry than it is. So it doesn't take much of anything to spark a fire that can very quickly spread out of control. And we've got 40 fires of note across the province. Most are in the Kamloops Fire Center. The fire of note is the highest, most serious level of designation for a fire, meaning that they're out of control, they're near populated areas, and they pose significant risk to people and to property. We've never had that many fires of note in the history of British Columbia.
I'm actually just taking a look at this, and it says out of the 38 fires of note across the province, 16 are in the Kamloops Fire Center region.
Yeah, all within about an hour's drive of Kamloops. So you just can imagine everyone in this area is sitting on pins and needles, recognizing there's so much danger all around. And of course, we're choking on the smoke. This is some of the most hazardous air in the world right now. If you look at any of the the air quality index sites out there, we're routinely, if not the worst, amongst the worst in the entire world for air quality. So people are really suffering, and perhaps the saddest point is we're only in the third week of July. There's a heck of a lot of summer and hot weather still in front of us. So we need all the help that we can get, and we'll certainly accept thoughts and prayers as well.
Mr. Stone, in this situation with the heat dome that we had a few weeks ago and this wildfire situation and the lack of precipitation, as you mentioned, what sort of a larger conversation does this warrant around climate change?
Well, I think if there's anyone still out there that doesn't believe that climate change is real, they ought to come up and spend a few days up here in the Kamloops area right now. This is unprecedented heat, unprecedented wildfire activity this early in the season. The smoke is horrific, and I think this is absolutely related to warming temperatures and to climate change generally. And so there's in the here and now, we need to put these fires out. We need to save people. We need to protect people's lives and save their property. But we need to have that post wildfire season this year. I think we're all going to have to come to the table and have that discussion about how do we better mitigate the impacts of climate change, and what do we need to do to actually do a better job of fighting climate change in the first place. It's real, it's here, and it's going to continue to get worse unless we get really, really seriously focused on combating it moving forward.
Mr. Stone, thank you so much for your time this morning. We really appreciate it, and stay safe. Good luck.
Thank you very much, and we'll talk to you again soon. I appreciate it.
Looking forward to it. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.